Hello everybody, welcome back to the range. Tom here, and today we're doing a Volkswagen Beetle. I've already customized this casting once already, didn't like it. It didn't turn out too bad, but I wanted to do something a little different this time around with it. So let's head on down to the range and let's get started. This is one of the first castings I got a while back. It had like a little roof rack on it. I customized it once already, but I wanted to change it up a bit this time. It looked good the way it was, but, I wasn't really happy with it. It already had the holes drilled out and screws tapped in, but I wanted it to look better. I really did. I wanted to improve this casting by going Mad Max GasLands style with it. With that little intro video I had before my video, I had to give a little hint of where I was going with this. And, all in all, I love the results. So I'm hoping you guys stay through the video and see the final results, because I'm happy with it. And, I'm going to do my best to stay on track with giving you a step-by-step what I did and how I did it, and the normal routine. But normally I get sidetracked, so I might just do that. But I had these Chevy Nomad rear ends from my last build that I had, the tow truck build, and I took the rear end and I incorporated them with the Volkswagen Bug. And just something I wanted to try. They were both the same size. They were both cut the same width and everything. So I knew they would work. I just had to cut the Bug apart and test fit what I had to do. Cut the rear post off. Pretty much almost cut the entire rear half off. And, it went so good doing this build. Like, everything was flowing into place. Nothing was screwing up. I had everything going the way I wanted it to go, and I'm really happy with the results. But as I'm cutting out these rear fenders, test fitting, making sure I got them cut the right way, making sure they're gonna file down and smoothly put in there. Had to use a little bit of milliput later on. You'll see that in the video. But I wanted to make sure that it was evenly cut on both sides before I started gluing stuff into place and, that kind of routine. Because I wanted it to come together like, most people. And, I thought about doing a rat rod with this. Just building a rat rod out of it. But, I haven't done a GasLands build in a while, and that's what made me think, why don't you just turn it into a GasLands build? And I'm glad I did, and here it is out of the stripper. I kind of had some red marks where I was marking. I was going to put, like, a trunk lid on it, but I ended up not doing that because I ended up putting a larger, like, an engine in the back of it. And I thought about building a frame out of it from the old Doom Buggy that I did a while back. And I'm sorry for the ticking at the beginning of the video. I had a fan trying to cool my phone down because it was starting to overheat, because I had to go outside for a minute. But as I'm going through this build, I'm trying to figure out what all I can do more to it. And I put these styrene pieces in the back to actually hold it flat against the back of it, because I wanted it to be good, and luckily enough it almost had the identical curvage of the Beetle, so I didn't really have to do much to filing it down, smoothing it out, or anything like that. And here I am using milliput to fill in the gaps and stuff, because I want to kind of blend it together. And it would have been cool as a little rat rod, but I wanted to do GasLands, because like I said, I haven't done a GasLands build in quite some time, and I'm kind of glad I did it with the Bug, because I'm just amazed at how well it turned out. I really am. You see the milliput, kind of see it sticking out. It actually looks pretty neat with these Nomad fenders on it. And all in all, it was a really fun build. It really was. And I just wanted to try something different. And there's a lot of different stuff that I've done on this. I got some movable parts. There's some glamour shots at the end of the video, so you'll be able to see it standing still. I put on this piece for like a rear bumper kind of deal on it, and it just... I'm just glad of how it turned out. And one thing you gotta understand, like when it comes to building with these hobbies, the only limit you have is your imagination. If you can imagine like a big rig turned out of a Volkswagen Bug, you can build it. I've seen some magnificent builds. I've seen people turning Volkswagen Bugs into cab over engine trucks, and they looked remarkable. And it's just, however you want to do it, all you gotta do is just step out of your comfort zone and give it a shot. I stepped out of my comfort zone probably once I started getting more tools and more items to build stuff, because I only had just like a Dremel tool with a cutting wheels and some cheap paint stripper and some spray paint. That's how I started, and a drill. Those are what I started with. And then as time grew, I started being able to afford it and get more items to do better builds, to get the styrene. I ended up getting styrene off the internet and decals from the internet. Met up with these other customizers, was talking to them. Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop was one of the first customizers I've actually started talking to. And the advice he gave me, and and then I started talking to Paul from Diecast Graveyard, getting to know those guys, and Andrew, from Maple Leaf Customs, man. There's just so many different builders that could give you certain advice for certain things. And from what I understand, there's people that was like, man, you know a lot. I've always been a creative person. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always had a creative mind. I always liked making comic book characters, my own characters, designing my own cars, that kind of thing. And I've always had the creative side of me, and it's never left. So, getting into this hobby has actually helped me bring more of my creativity out. I'm more confident with my builds. Like, if somebody sends me a build and be like, hey, can you paint this? Or, hey, can you do this, this, and this? And I'm like, well, let me see. Yeah, I can try. And I'll send you pictures of updates, That's just me. I got so much ideas running through my head, just trying to think of what I could do with certain cars. I got a wall full of different years, makes, models, fantasy cars, that just, once I see what I want to do, like, I'll pick it and I'll be like, what, let's give it a shot. Let's see what I can come up with. I had this engine, like I said, I'm back and forth, I had this engine, put in the back. I cut out the rear window, you seen that. And, I'm making it to where, of course, the Volkswagen Bug is a rear window or rear engine vehicle, so I wanted to keep that, So I put a bigger stacked engine in it, attached some styrene tube, made the exhaust stick a little further out the back, gave it that little more aggressive kind of style. And, later on I ended up putting more movable parts, But it rolls perfect, it looks good, I love how it turned out. It honestly looks like something I would drive in a Mad Max movie or something, you know, honestly. You know, it just, you know, you can only go as far as your imagination will let you. And, you know, I've seen some awesome builds over the past year and a half, 2 years, something like that. And it's just inspired me to do better. You know, better with my paint, better with my, you know, customization, you know, parts and stuff like that, making my own chassis, making my own axles, you name it. And it's just, I don't know. But, yeah, I know I'm not talking much about the build because you guys can tell what I'm doing. And, you know, one thing I always learned, even when I was in the military, you know, the stupidest question is the one that's never asked. You know, trust me, you got a question for me, I'll answer it any way I can. You know, all these other customizers, you know, they will answer whatever questions you have about the hobby if all you got to do is ask. That's all you got to do. And, you know, I've lived my life mostly with that phrase, the stupidest question is the one that's never asked. And honestly, I have learned so much over the past year and a half, and I'm coming up on a year on YouTube. And I want to say thank you to all my friends, all the Diecast family members I have on here, you know, all my subscribers. You know, I appreciate you guys' support, your comments, you know, other people that, you know, come from other channels just to see what I can do. You know, I appreciate that. You know, I was watching this fabrication channel the other day, and they had a live chat, and I happened to join in on it. And they're like, Caliber 50 Customs. They're like, what is that? I was like, it's a hobby channel. And not even probably an hour later, I get a notification saying I had 2 new subscribers from the channel I was just watching. And I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, you know, I appreciate that. You know, because, you know, I'm doing this channel because I like to show my appreciation to this hobby of how it helps me, how it gets me out of my bubble, as you said, as some people would say, out of my comfort zone. You know, the stuff that I want. I would love to see more people get into this hobby. It's not that expensive of a hobby. It's not that difficult of a hobby. It's actually really fun, and the people you meet are outstanding. You know, I made my own chassis for this. You know, part of the rear chassis, you know, I did the front part of the chassis to connect the front axle. And the way I went about it is I had these needle nose pliers that are rounded and made it easier to bend, I guess, half circles or something like that. And it makes it so much easier with the tools that I have now compared to, you know, it was hard for me to do my own chassis before I got them all. And, you know, I just kept watching other videos to see, okay, well, I need this, I need that. Okay, eventually I'll get this. And then, you know, I went from going to spray can to airbrushing, and now I'm working with rust effects. And, you know, it just, everything will flow into place as you go on with the hobby. You know, you'll start getting better at your paint. You'll start getting better with, you know, your custom parts that you make. If you decide to make engines from, you know, scratch, you know, like I've done before, you know. And it just, as you go, it gets easier. Like, I can knock out a video in a day. Like, literally less than a day from start to finish. I can knock out a video if I choose to. And some of it may be custom, some of it may not be. You know, it might just be a strictly just wheel swap and paint job, you know. Or it just might be, you know, I might do some little small little custom pieces to it. You know, it all depends. And, excuse me. It's just, you know, the better you get, the more you'll see it. Not just that, you'll see it before anybody else. Like, I consider this build as one of my best GasLand builds in a while. Like, honestly, from the first, I'm not talking about my truck to wasteland build or my into the wasteland hauler that I made for Jay's Diecast Creations Pink Slips race. I've actually looked at my previous GasLands builds, and this one tops it all. This one's like the best one I've done. So I'm really happy about this one. I'm really proud of myself with the functionality, the moving parts that I have on it, the look of it. It just looks mean. It looks like something, you can just chase somebody down with and just murder them. And, at this point in the build, I'm actually test fitting to make an axle tube to put my axles on, trying to see about how high I need to make it, what all I need to do. And I put a piece of square styrene first to give it like a little lift, a little height advantage, and then I put some tube styrene as an axle tube. Works perfectly because I didn't have no brass tubing the size that I needed for it, or I would have used brass tubing. I'm probably gonna try to get back into soldering so I can do better with my chassis and stuff, but it probably won't be for a while because I'm not comfortable with soldering yet. I'm making custom fenders for the back, and luckily enough, when I put these Nomad fenders on here, it gave it enough length to where I had something to attach the rear part of the fender to. So it gave me that extra space to make it. And I love making my own custom parts. I love making it look like it should belong on a car. Some of my hoods that I made, people's like, man, like with my Porsche build I did a while back, I had somebody's like, couldn't even tell it was a custom hood. And, that made me feel good. That made me feel like, hey, I know what I'm doing. I'm actually pretty proud of that. I got another car that I'm it's been slow in the works, but I got a custom hood on it, and I modified a 62 Chevy interior to fit with a 1970 El Camino, I believe. And it was one of those ones I got from Benchwork Toys. So I'm kind of in the process, I should say, of kind of combining those two items. And luckily enough, I got to where it'll fit. Now, I'm kind of stuck because I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. You see here the little armor plating that I got, and I even put little tail lights on it. But, at this point, I knew exactly what I was wanting to finish it up with. I put a working turret gun on there using an old rim from a tire. Put a brass rod through the top of it. Put like a little separator with some styrene, and it moves, it functions. I wish it would shoot, but it don't. And you see with the custom front end, I have the cross members, got it attached to the axle, and it's glued to the base, so it's got a little gas tank on the front of it, and it's starting to come together. Even if I would have just left it like this and just painted the styrene portions of it, I thought it would look cool too. But I wanted to give it that dirt rusty feeling, rusty look, and right now what I'm doing is putting armor plating on it, and I ended up making one of the window armors open and close on the driver's side. Give it like, it has to get air. He's got to open it up and get air put through it and stuff like that. And I wanted it to be functional, where you could just drop it down and roll out, like a scout vehicle, recon vehicle. Drive up and just go from there. Just pretty much, I'm trying new stuff with movable parts just to, get out there and see what all I can do. And, I don't see many people doing stuff with movable parts, but, it's just one of my things, I guess. It's just something I like trying to do, like, making a hood raise, or making it, like my tow truck, where it extends out and it drops down and stuff, that kind of thing. I love trying new things out. And me putting this gun turret on there where it rotates, it just opens up more options, I should say. More options for me when I do more GasLand builds. Just gives me the purpose to try something different, to try something newer, to pretty much go above and beyond my previous build of that style. And you see the window here on the driver's side, and like I said, I got it to where it would open and close. I got a rotating turret, I got an opening and closing window, and I love how it turned out. I'm gonna try something when it comes up to that the 4 Horsemen Mars rover build. I'm gonna try something a little different. I'm gonna probably try to find a secondary casting to actually test my theory out, because I'm wanting to do some movable parts with that as well. I'm not for sure exactly what all I'm gonna do yet, but I have an idea. Because having this build, I'm trying to keep a weekly build. Sometimes I get a couple builds out in a week. I'm trying to just keep you guys entertained. You guys are probably thinking this guy has no life. Well, I do have a life. I just, it's boring. So this is the only excitement I really have sometimes, is working with my projects. But, I'm pretty much showing you that I'm weathering it up. I've already painted a little rust colored and dirt colored, and mixed my own little sandish color. It kind of looks like a little beige, but it doesn't look too bad. I'm just trying to actually, I'm getting better at the weathering. And the only way you can get better is just get down there and do it. You don't need to try to impress anybody. Charles's Diecast Garage just showed a while back, showed me one of his first weathering kits. I sent him a weathering kit because I had an extra set. So I sent him some of the weathering, the extra weathering kit I had, and he showed me, and he did an amazing job. He did an amazing job on his first rustic out car with the weathering kits. And I'm putting a little bit of weathering on everything, from the interior to the engine to the weapon system to the actual wheels itself. And I taped them off when I painted them, and I pretty much weathered the entire vehicle. So everything was rustic up. Everything looked like it had like metal pieces showing and stuff like that. This is what we started off with. Nice little Volkswagen Beetle. This was a custom from the original, and I wanted to go a little bit above and beyond and turn it into one of the coolest Mad Max GasLands cars I've done. But without further ado, let's check out the final results. and I'll see you next time at the range.